Okay, nice. Okay, it should be live. Hey guys, is it live? Yay, it's live. I see it on YouTube. Do you see it?
I clicked the event page.
Yeah, it's live on. It looks so funny in the screen thing. Hey, everybody. So I'm just looking up here a second to make sure we are good.
And okay, there you go.
Comments. Okay, cool.
I gotta turn the volume down.
Oops. Yeah. Oh, let me turn my fan off here. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Okay. Let that noise and the edits. Okay. Sorry, I'm like glowing. There's like the screen is on me. I look like Casper.
Oh no, you're good. I need to turn a second light on or something.
No, you look better than me. I look like ridiculous. I gotta get the light off. Yeah, it's a little delayed on YouTube. That's all right. There's gonna be a delay with sending it everywhere, so that's fine. Okay. So,
sorry, 1 second.
No, it's okay.
I dropped my lamp. I mean, fan.
Making sure this is off. Okay. I'm making sure this is off.
Oh, that's a lot better now with the light. Okay. It looks like
way better.
I'm actually here.
Yeah, mine is like the screen is like right in front of me, so I can't get rid of it. It's like I have the screen here watching us, but then I have this one here, and I have a light, but whatever, it's fine. And I'm kind of like this because I realized last time that I got the reflection from my glasses.
Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of podcast. I can't have the podcast. Thank you.
I just want to edit it anyways. It's fine. I should say for people too, like when you watch it live, like we're chatting in the beginning and stuff, but when I do the edit, we take out any like chit chat and stuff, so you get like what we discuss on each topic. So
that's true.
Yeah, and then so I have a long one I'm gonna post of the full thing. It's very long, but it was important to have everything because a lot of people wanted to watch it that missed the live one. So it's like basically watching it live, but with nice edits of like articles and stuff that pop up. And then I'm doing a trailer for it for Instagram and also shorter videos for everybody. So that way they can see certain topics. Like, Tarik goes into like different things that we discussed last week. And the first episode also will have that as well. So if you miss it or you're like, oh, I want to stay, but I can't stay for the length, like that's fine. We're going to have it up. And then also we're going to have some charity involvement, which I realized I didn't put the banner. I'm trying to learn this as we go. There it is on the bottom. I don't know if it's on all of them, but so each episode, when it's going to be monetized and put on YouTube as the edited ones, I'm trying to have it so that when you watch it, you're helping a charity, like your view, instead of it going to, Illest entertainers or whatever, it goes to the charity, which I think is really awesome. So I'm going to try to have that happen as well. So if you watch them, you're also doing something to help others, which I think is really cool. So anyways, let's get into why we're here today. So we're on episode 3, and Tarik, you had a really cool topic for today, which I thought was really, encompasses everything. So I don't know if you want to get into like the power of perception and what like about it did you want to dive into?
Well, right. It's like everything is very strange right now, as you can imagine. I'm sure everybody can imagine. The world is in a state of flux, to put it nicely, I guess you can say. I mean, it could ultimately be a good thing, but it got me thinking about, one day we go to sleep thinking one thing and we wake up in the morning in a totally different version of a world,
Yeah.
And so it's sort of all-encompassing because there's so many things happening, but in a way that's good for our topic because it's the common denominators that, you perceive one thing because there's a sort of status quo, if you will, of how things go in life. I mean, yeah, life does throw curveballs, but ultimately there's like a general sense of order, and right now it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like
it's like it's intense.
Yeah, it's very intense, and a lot of good things can come from it if it's directed right. But I thought I bring it up to you, Emily, and see you thought about it because, I mean, think about the world like not even 10 years ago, like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and look at it now. It's like, wow, such a huge contrast. So try to imagine the possibilities, hopefully in a good way, in 10 years from now or 5 years from now, even. You know.
Yeah, it reminded me when you just said that. It made me think of you know about Kimberly Jones. She had that this guy David Jones, I think, had on the Daily Show. They shared it, but so Kimberly Jones is an author and a filmmaker, and she was
Okay.
talking about Black Lives Matter. And I'll put this in the edits, by the way, guys, so like you'll see about what we're talking about. I'll put it in.
Oh, I need to share this on. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. We're gonna edit anyways. Don't worry. Like people just watch because they want to sit and watch. Like we're having coffee and chatting about this. So basically, what I just thought of was so Kimberly Jones had was talking about Black Lives Matter and what was going on at the protests and people like I think I can't remember where she is. Oh gosh, I should remember where she was, but she was talking about they were burning down Targets and all these different stores, like big corporation companies and stuff like that, like their businesses. And she had a really important quote that they mentioned, and she says, you know, that Black people, we're lucky that, you know, everybody's, you know, Black people just want to don't want revenge, they just want peace.
Right.
And
Just to
that
be
was,
considered equal and the same. You know.
yeah. And then in terms of like the last 2 years, she wrote a book 2 years ago, and it was a novel on a fictional story, but the perspective of what's going on. And now it's used in some classrooms and stuff too for kids and teens and stuff to like, you know, be able to understand this on a different level. And amazingly, she wrote this 2 years ago, and now like people are recognizing it now. So like you just said, you know, like in 2 years, like what happened from her book to now, it's like, it's amazing.
Yeah, in terms of contrast, there's a lot of people posting, well, a lot of things, but one thing in particular, uh, some artist renditions of movies and books, like you say, about, you know, if things were reversed throughout the years up to now and like how surreal it looks, you know, but it
Yeah.
really helps put things in perspective. A friend of mine was going through shopping for hair products, you know, in a seemingly simple day, and she posted on Facebook like I think it was Walmart, and it was like an owl, right? And the left
Yeah.
side was uh standard, I say standard hair products, but it's not
Yeah, I know
hair
what you mean.
products that
Yeah.
people of African descent can use, you know, because their hair texture, scalp is all different, you know.
Right.
And then on the right side, African American hair products, and it was like a tenth of the products for compared to everybody else. So like, yeah, it's like six, like here's one long aisle, and it's like 6 rows, right?
Yeah.
You know, like almost the entire aisle. And then on the right side was 5 feet wide by 7 feet tall, and that was it. You know, and also it was had security glass encased, and it was padlocked.
What? For just
Yeah.
like the why?
So someone, a black person like myself or whoever, will have to go to an attendant,
Yeah.
get them to unlock it, and then and then probably escort it to the front or something.
Oh
I'm
my
just like,
gosh, that's
what
crazy.
the hell, man? And I
Yeah.
actually have seen some things like that, but you know, I haven't seen that everywhere. So I'm sure that's not everywhere, but to see that at all was like, oh man,
Yeah.
that's happening now. It's not like the 50s or something, you know.
Gosh. Yeah. When I edit this, I gotta put in that like about, you know, why they're doing that. Like that's crazy. It's not like I know they sometimes have like, you know, razors and stuff are like in the locked cases and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
And
that's
certain
understandable. Something that's
medications.
actually dangerous,
Right.
you know.
Like what? Is somebody gonna go like down a bottle of like, you know, like coconut oil or whatever? Like what the hell? Like that's
Yeah,
crazy.
that was pretty sad.
That's
But so
ridiculous.
you see these perspectives, you know, and the contrast, and it's like, so um, it's when you're a minority, it's like it's tricky because I say minority only statistically because population wise, right? But as a people, we're not. You know, as people,
Right.
we're all equal. But in terms of population, so you know, like 13-14% or so, or something like that. So one person sees the world one way because you know we go through life seeing it our way, and things are so much different. And then that's the same thing for anyone that's like supposedly not the norm, because what was it, 76% No, I'm sorry. It's between 72 and 76% of the U.S. population is Caucasian, which is
Yeah.
huge. That's
Hmm.
like almost everybody, you know.
Yeah.
But then like the other percentages you have, which is still millions of people. You still have millions of like Asian, African American, Latino,
Yeah.
um, all types of stuff. Native American. That's
Yeah.
another
Native
thing too. Like I
American,
mentioned, like I have some Native American and stuff, and that's even smaller of a minority. So
yeah.
these different perspectives of the world are one way. And so when the world reset, so to speak, as it did, and we all woke up,
Right. Yeah.
whenever
Wake
COVID
up.
hit,
Yeah.
I think COVID started it. You know,
Hmm. Yeah. Definitely.
and what do you think? I think COVID started like I mean, life has always been different for different people, like for centuries. But in terms of for a global sense of unified awareness to some degree, I
That's the
think
point. Yeah.
COVID kind of started that. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely, because it's something that encompassed the entire world. We all had something going on that we could all understand. And it's kind of like when our first episode, when we were saying how people are understanding more about like people with medical disabilities, chronic conditions, stuff that, people like us that can't be like have to be home more than most people. And
Yeah,
it,
have to be.
yeah. And it's like not just like a state that's going through it or like a few countries. It's like the whole world is going through this. And that's a good point that like everybody is starting to understand what that's like. And I think that's what you mean is like that now with, Black Lives Matter and stuff too, the protests all around the world is that people are starting to wake up and realize that this is, an entire world issue that needs to be addressed and finally have something done about it. And it's going to take some time, like you said, about like looking back from like before and now. And I think looking back, even probably would be cool, as I was thinking the other day, is like when we go back and watch these discussions and stuff, like, even a few months from now, even for example, like a week from now when I was editing, like I was finding articles and stuff to put in from last time's episode. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to put this in. And every day it was something else I wanted to include. Like that's how quickly, like you're saying, everything is changing.
I'm still listening. I gotta put
Yeah,
my
it's okay.
my neck brace on.
No, it's all right. It's okay. So what I was saying is, sorry, I'm gonna drink something. How people now are starting to be more. I think it goes both ways. Like we can't, like not everybody's going to be empathetic and understanding, but I'm hoping that with all these things going on, that people are going to start to realize, change their perspective on things. And I'm seeing that more and more. And people argue both ways that people don't understand. If we, I don't know if we want to dive into this, but like with the police and all that as well, it's like people's perspectives of different things. And even in the same situation that's horrible, there's people that, see it in a different light that don't even understand it as something horrible. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to get to sidetrack too much, but did you hear about the police officer with the Egg McMuffin thing? This woman that, this police officer that went to McDonald's and she ordered a coffee and an Egg McMuffin.
Oh, I didn't hear
And
about this.
oh yeah, we've been really busy this week, like a lot. This is
Oh
all I've been
man.
doing is editing and watching stuff. Like, so you've been doing a lot. But so to summarize it really quick, and forgive me if I'm not getting this exact, but basically the story is that she ordered a coffee and an Egg McMuffin through the drive-thru, waiting for her order, and it's taking a long time. Now, in general, I saw this on the Philip DeFranco show, which is a YouTube channel I watch.
All
And
right, I seen him.
yeah. So he summarized it, and it was funny because he said he used to work at a McDonald's, so he knew and was like, what's interesting about this situation before he went into the story, that in general, McDonald's and stuff, like they'll sometimes be back on a hash brown order or whatever, or burgers and stuff. Like it just happens. It's not anything personal. But the police officer, the woman, she took it personally. And so she pulls over and is waiting, which happens to everybody. You have to wait like at little parking areas, and they bring out your food like, in a few minutes. Sometimes I waited 15, 20 minutes one time.
Right.
And, it was just almost, it was sad, but also like, I just couldn't comprehend some of it. And she was crying and going like, now I don't even want to wear my uniform when I go out, and nobody says thank you to police officers, and I just want my Egg McMuffin. And I'm thinking, and this is just my opinion, I was thinking like, here, she's getting this upset over that. And all of these other people are upset because they're literally being slaughtered, like by police officers, and like these situations that are horrendous. And I'm thinking, imagine
I,
like that, like
exactly. There was you just reminded me of something like when you said that, like in terms of that contrast, because I mentioned to someone, I don't remember what it was I was saying. It's like, and one different perspective of the world, especially my side of the things. It's like as a race, being persecuted by not just by police officers. I mean, not all police officers are like that, but some of them.
right,
But
yeah, exactly.
people in a sense of authority,
Hmm.
a lot of times can misuse that authority.
Yeah,
And then I was like,
exactly.
whenever stories come up about that, some people don't want to read the newspaper or they turn off the news because it'll disrupt their breakfast or their
Right,
morning muffin or something. Like,
exactly.
oh, I don't want to be brought down today. I want to stay chipper.
Hmm.
And it's good to be happy, but it's one thing to be blind by. And so when people have this skewed sense of what's really a problem, like you said, and that's a good example,
Yeah,
and compared to a real life and danger type of problem, it's
yeah,
like staggering what some people freak out about. Like with some movie and someone goes, can you imagine? It was like it was silly. It's like, can you imagine a real apocalypse? And then I mean, people get upset about if it's gluten free or not.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
is
Yep.
this a gluten free? Although I do like food that's gluten free, but
Same.
I
Yeah.
don't freak out about it.
Yeah. I knew about it before people. They're like, "What's gluten?" And I'm like, "What's gluten?" And this was like in 2004 when I was like, my health stuff I was trying to figure out, and I knew back then. But it's hilarious. Yeah, it's true. Like people go in an uproar over something so small, and that gets taken care of. And like here, this has been going on how long? And it's it just kind of. I feel like it's kind of just become like a way of life, and it shouldn't be. Like that's what gets me
Exactly.
upset. And I just can't wrap my head around it sometimes. But yeah, like that's a good point that people like tune it out, like they don't want to know, and that I think is also another big part of the problem. That's another thing.
Well,
Um,
I think an additional part of
yeah,
that is like I was sort of saying earlier, like in terms of there's different cultures and different ways, especially when you're in a country. Like it's different if you're in a country that you're stronger in. Like if you're in a Spanish country or a Spanish speaking country,
mm,
that's a major majority there. But if you're in America and you're like from Spain or from Mexico or from Trinidad, Puerto Rico, or something like
yeah,
that. I don't know why I said it like that,
right.
but but
They don't say
um,
God like me.
but basically, like America is strict opportunities, but at the same time, it's completely different, and you're perceived differently.
Yeah,
So especially someone that's say African American and a transgender, oh man,
yeah,
they take things, they get like I mean, persecution wise, I think the people get persecuted the most on a daily basis. I mean, there's still like, obviously, if you're African American, Latino, you get persecuted sometimes, especially if you're in an area that they profile you at right away. But
mm,
if you're transgender um, and you're someone of a minority in terms of race, you're really persecuted. Like I think I mentioned before that there's here in Houston, Texas, there's a shelter that specializes in helping predominantly uh, transgender females that are
oh
of
wow, oh
Latin
yeah,
descent.
hmm,
But if you're not Latin, they still help you too. It's just that
that's
a lot of
awesome.
times if you're not if you come here and you're trying to get your green card or you're trying to get your citizenship or you're trying to do anything to become like part of this country, and then you're transgender on top of that, there's like even more doors are closed for you. So they try to help uh, their they're basically their members to become fully integrated. They help them, like with
Yeah,
bedding, with food supplies. They try to give them a new lease on life with a better job if possible, and then help them
yeah,
get the ball rolling. And sometimes they have to help them put them out of jails because they get persecuted by the cops and they get
yeah,
arrested. Like, oh, you shouldn't be out here. We call in trouble or something like that.
hmm,
Like and when someone's in a position of vulnerability because they have less options than someone that has like say a quota.
yeah,
There was a special thing that happened. It was like a talk show and it was a bunch of cops had white, black, Latino cops, right? And all of them agree to this one thing, that they have a quota to meet for that month. Like a certain amount of arrests are supposed to show, like, if they're slipping, supposedly. What if there's less crime or something?
Right.
They get in trouble, there's less crime. It's like, they had to go look for it,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
but so they
Point.
predominantly say they go straight for people of African American and Latino, like straight for them, like, because they think that's the highest probability of an arrest or something, So there might be something happening on the other side of town that's like a real problem, and they'll just make a beeline for that, So, and they submitted it, It's like I think they said that they're not told to do that, but it's like the unsaid rule, so to speak,
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's also, that made me think of Trevor Noah mentioned on the Daily Show. It's actually called the Daily Social Distancing Show for now. But he mentioned at some point, one of the episodes, where also like with ticketing and stuff in the communities. Oh, Kimberly Jones mentioned this too, the author. She mentioned how, it's distressing as well, like when they have tickets and stuff and they go to these communities and stuff, in urban communities, that they know that a lot of the families are struggling and they can't get the money to afford to get another registration or to move their car and do this stuff, or, all of these things. And it can be off by like a day, and they'll just like go and know that they'll get their quota by going to these areas. And it's disgusting. It's just horrendous. Like, it just made me think of that, what we were just saying. They'll just, the police will just know they need to meet like XYZ amount of for whatever. And they'll just be like, oh, I'm going to go here. It's easier. And then they just go out and they start writing their tickets. And it's like.
So it's almost like on one side, it'd be great to have more help in general for people in this situation, like you mentioned, but on the same time, it's like sometimes it takes hours and time, and normally that equates to money and resources and funding, in terms like a grant. So like there's a great artist named Rick Lowe here in Houston, and he created what's called the Project Roadhouse. Roadhouse. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's like I mean, we're going right now, but he took houses and he renovated his houses from a long time ago. These houses were originally like, you go from slaves to sharecroppers, right? And then the sharecroppers, they eventually have these like roadhouses. They got historically preserved in Third Ward here in Houston, Texas, and then they got converted into basically these artist studios for like quarterly presentations. So he'll give a grant approved, and they take that money and they give it to an artist, and that artist has that entire like room or two of that. They're small houses. The house is the size of like a living room and a half, basically.
Right.
Really small. But an artist would take that and do an installation or artist rendering. And so they got funding, but it's all because Rick Lowe did that, and he understood the system. But he's an anomaly, So if one thing would be great if like maybe people like Rick Lowe or people that are successful in writing grants, or anyone that's successful in writing grants, having like maybe volunteer classes, like once in a while, like once a month or something, like maybe not every week, because it takes away from your livelihood. You have to make money. But if it was like people did a rotation, so there's always like free classes, how to get grants for funded for small businesses, for things like that. I mean, there is to some degree, but on a larger scale, that'd be really cool.
That would be really good. Yeah, that would be amazing. I'll put that in like when I edit it too, like the artwork and stuff and all that, who he is and everything for people. But that's a good point too. Like that, I was thinking about that.
Find that.
Yeah, if you can find it, put it in the comment. Also, someone made a comment. Kala Dahl, forgive me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong.
Hey, Kala.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
Kala said, most humans need to be taught emotional intelligence, plain and simple. That would fix most of our issues. It needs to be a class taught in schools in order to
I was saying that.
future generations. Yeah.
I was saying that the last podcast. It's like, because even though parents, ideally we would like parents to have that, but sometimes we need it to be like a mandatory thing from colleges or high schools, elementary. Like if like once, like one teacher assigned for that or something, and they can just teach children history of different cultures,
Right.
good and bad. Like like not just like a skewed view of every culture, but like the full scope of a culture. For like maybe for 3 months, because 1 month is cool, but that's not much. But maybe if it's like 3 months, it's like a continent. And then every country is that continent or things like that. Like Asia, like
Yeah.
the bigger groups, like Africa, Asia, Europe. And then from that, start breaking it down into like countries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is really true too. Oh, I just sidetracked. I was gonna say something
But I think it found broke
completely
out.
blank. Yeah, I was looking down because I was trying to find it to send to everybody. I'll also put it in when I edit them down. Like the other episode, it has articles and topics and images of stuff we discussed. So it's nice to watch the other ones because you get information that you might miss, the visual. What was I going to ask you? I just got sidetracked. Education and that. Oh, so jumping back to like art and stuff like that, like with artists and stuff that have the funds and stuff to do things. Like, for example, when I was talking at the beginning of this, each episode, what I want to do, as I mentioned in the beginning, is have the views go towards something because I realize a lot of people can't, give money to different charities that they want to. So I want it to be something where everybody can help make a difference. And
Yes.
and actually as an artist, I was kind of debating doing something to help just for like awareness and stuff. And I don't know if I will, but I want to, so I probably will. One of my old songs I wrote years ago about having a chronic condition. And I realized that when I wrote it just for everybody, encompassing everybody that goes through obstacles and feels like they're not heard, and how the media and entertainment industries and stuff like the big names, try to bring us to this impossible goal of being perfect and being a certain way and looking a certain way and everything. I think that also ties into everything going on now as well.
Oh my God, no,
Yeah,
it's insane that the very skewed view with beauty and what's powerful and everything.
yeah, exactly. And also like with I just remembered I was gonna ask. Also with makeup, like when you're talking about the hair products and
Yeah.
certain companies that don't make enough shades, like I mean the lighting here makes me super, super, super pale, but I'm super pale to begin with. And just even for me, like finding a makeup shade and stuff is hard. And I know like a lot of my friends and stuff with different, from different ethnicities, different skin tones and stuff, like it's really hard sometimes to find anything. And there's one company, I'm not going to like start naming companies because I don't, won't do that. But there's one in particular, I'm sure some of you watching know, that they claimed that they made only like 8 shades and there were not any darker shades. And it
It's
was,
like 8 shades of beige.
exactly. Yeah. 50 Shades of Gray, 8 Shades of Beige.
You have sand and eggshell.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It was unbelievable. And then like other brands have like, like I just said 50 Shades of Grey, but like that's different. But like literally 50 different shades of makeup and, concealer and foundation and stuff. And it just goes, the whole world needs to change. And from everything from what we wear, what we watch, everything. And like you said, it's going to take time. And I think over time, we're going to see stuff hopefully go in that direction. And there's always going to be people that are going to be negative and want to bring it down and not have,
Yeah.
a positive outlook. I think it's important, like you said, with artists and stuff that are known to get more involved as well, because without them, a lot of kids, and I know from being a teacher that, they really look up to these YouTubers and they look up to these different influencers that, that aren't always like the best example. And I think,
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah. I mean, I mean, we're just people too, so it's like it can go good way or it could go a bad way.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's hard. It puts a lot of pressure on them as well. And I was just watching something earlier today about some YouTubers that feel like that they don't have to talk about stuff and, they don't have to mention anything about it if they don't want to. But it's kind of a tricky situation because it's like, well, you want to be known and have all this, but at the same time, if you can help, like, why not help? Like, it's a really hard decision, I guess, for some of them as to how to approach certain topics. Like, it can be really sensitive and they can be taken the wrong way. Everything can be
That's the
correct.
thing, because there's pressure on a lot of influencers, like you say, but not every influencer should say something. So
Right.
like 'cause maybe they're not versed into it enough, or or they're like, like, remember the whole thing with Logan Paul, like he put his foot in
Yeah.
his mouth like so many times. I was like, oh my god, he was like this, had
Oh
so
yeah.
like so much power and influence, but completely didn't like deserve it.
Yeah.
What I
And
mean?
he just like completely, well, the whole thing was just terrible when he went to
Yeah.
Japan.
Oh my god.
That was terrible. Yeah. And I won't put an image or anything, but I'll put a link or something. It was really bad. But that's an example of how things can go horribly wrong. And then, I feel like a lot of times also because people take things so much out of context that influences that could do positive or do something feel like they won't because they don't want to have everything destroyed also. So it's really tricky to balance. But I mean, that was pretty obvious that was not a smart thing to do and really heartless and terrible. But we won't go that way. We'll get into that. I was going to ask you too, like, I don't know if with power perception and stuff too, like, I just kind of segue a little bit into like your journey for a minute, if that's okay. Like, how did, I don't know if everybody watching knows, if they haven't seen episode 1 and 2.
Oh,
like,
I keep forgetting about it.
No, it's okay.
I just like, that's one thing, like, a person can assume that people just understand certain things whenever it's so deep instilled in yourself. Like, I'm definitely abled. In the house, I use a walker and cane in short distances, and outside I had to use like a wheelchair. But yeah, like my so I represent a lot of different groups. So of course, being African American descent, also having some Native American ancestry, and then being differently abled, using wheelchairs, and I make chokers and neck braces and prosthetic exoskeletons assist for people with disabilities. So like, I come from different unusual sort of hodgepodge mix of different things.
Yeah, that's great. It's shitty that you have to go through the pain and, all that, but it's almost like you're such a great, like, influential person that people are like, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, people watching, I'm sure, had no idea, like, oh, I have to go get my brace. And then you like go off a second and come back with this like dope looking, fashion statement, it looks like. But meanwhile, it's actually something that helps. And
thank you.
Other people know. Yeah, I remember I loved it when I first saw it. That's how, like, I ended up reaching out to you.
Yeah, because through Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I've never even seen you in person besides this,
Yeah.
but it's like, but it doesn't register because, technology is such a way where things is so integrated where I can talk to you through this way, or it's text or something like that. And I pretty much communicate to most people that way anyway. So,
yeah.
Because my immune system, I had to take a lot of different medications to help because I have autoimmune, as you understand, autoimmune disorder. But my Tarik Rêver, I had to take like some medication is equal to anti-cancer medication. So it makes your immune system really weird. So I can't be around people that are sick. So with social distancing, I'm like really grounded. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm like,
yeah, that's like a whole thing. People are like saying, oh, I want to go back out and do stuff and all that. It just gets me upset because it's like, I don't think it's kind of sad. We were even talking in our first episode of how long are people going to understand before they forget, It's like when things are in the now and they're experiencing it, I find sometimes people, even like 2 weeks after being in a hospital or something for something, like, oh, like that wasn't such a big deal. But when they're in the moment, they realize how, distressing and upsetting it is to be in that situation. But after a while, I feel like they kind of get accustomed to it and then think, oh, it's not such a big deal. And then they go out and they don't wear masks or they do this or that.
Oh, I know. Like my mom visited me, and she's been in the middle of town in different places, and it was my birthday, so she had to see me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, turning 42.
Don't look at it all. Everybody's like, what? Like,
thank you.
Awesome.
But she wore like filtered face mask, gloves, sanitized, UV light, erasing any potential floating COVID stuff, but she's been tested already, showing that she's not sick or anything close to it. But she's older, she doesn't want to take any chances. So she's like, what if I just maybe they missed something or something? I'm older, so maybe I still am susceptible. She says, or anybody can get it, really. But she just took extra precautions.
That's
But
good though.
I was really appreciative. Although I felt bad, you know, because my mom had to go through all this trouble just to see me. But at least I saw her for my
No, like,
birthday, you know.
yeah, no, it's good. You got to see her. Yeah, your birthday was last weekend, which is why we jumped to this weekend, by the way, guys. So we did Saturday because it was Father's Day, and last week was Tarik's birthday, so we just figured out let's just do it today. But
Here's the link. I'm putting the link right now.
oh, okay, cool.
For the commercial that is there for Social Blue.
Oh yeah. Talk about
It,
that.
there's the commercial, and in that commercial, it's like it talks a lot about breaking certain mindsets about what a person is, to be honest, what a human being is, because you know, and so in the commercial, there's people that is like your sort of standard what you anticipate someone to be, and then there's people that have like Down syndrome, people missing a leg, people like myself. I'm in the commercial too in a wheelchair, artists, bohemians, dancers.
Wow.
Um, People with suffering with depression, and that's the part it says in the commercial too. It's like social distancing has like unfortunately created like this even playing field for depression for everybody. You know, like if someone's already depressed, it's
Yeah.
probably more depressed. If someone hasn't been depressed, probably the first time they felt it to that degree, and so united um, through like social media like this, you can still keep up with people because if I didn't have social media to be friends with you and
Yeah,
other people and
exactly. Yeah.
maintain relationships with people that maybe I've known for years, because not everyone can come out and see me, you know.
Right.
I don't know how I'd be because I'd be like this, like a cave. I'd be in a cave or something.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. It's like I think about like, you know, like I won't get too far into my stuff, but like my dad also has porphyria, and I think back to when he was my age and stuff, and I'm like, wow, like when he was sick, he literally was completely isolated. Like he could talk on the phone, but they didn't have this. Like they didn't have texting and stuff like that. Like it was a completely different world for them, you know?
Exactly.
It's crazy. The link for it, I guess message me so I can send it on the thing for everybody because I think oh no, did you put it on
I'll put
the
it in the
comment?
comments.
The comments, okay. Because I don't see it. It's okay. We'll add it.
Oh wait,
Yeah, put it on the
there's like different versions of this video.
yeah, it's okay. Is it on the YouTube one? Which one did you put it on? Because I can
Well, I
grab
guess
it.
because I put the link on my Facebook page and I put it in the comments, but I guess it's not the official comments. Oh,
Oh, okay.
let me go to the actual official page.
I think if you go to the StreamYard one, you can click on the where it says the chat box, the comment box. Sorry, guys, we're trying to learn this as we go along, which is also why we edited.
Oh,
But
okay. I see
yeah,
it now.
okay, yeah. But also like we started doing this as a live stream. I know some people are like, oh, you know, do just a podcast, whatever. But we decided to make a mini series and do this live stream like this because everybody, when we started, you know, everybody's home. Everybody's still home, pretty much. And it was a way for people to not feel as alone also, where they could, you know, sit with us and listen to a discussion about current events and about our lives and what we go through, and especially at Tarik and everything that he encompasses so many different things, especially what's going on right now, that it just made sense for us to do a live stream version of a mini series for everybody to be able to be part of the discussion as opposed to just watching it and listening to it. And I think having the visual also for people that are hard of hearing when I do the edits, it's nice because they can also enjoy a podcast type thing as well. So I'm trying to make this to encompass everybody. Oh, I see you put the link in. Awesome. So the Instagram post is there. Oh, also you were just one of the top fashion influencers of 2020.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That's awesome.
I was like, I said this must be some type of hallucination.
No,
Like,
you're awesome. I told you. I'm
yeah,
like, dude, like
I was like,
amazing.
oh, there must be like, you know, a subcategory or something. It's like, no, it's like then it's like top influencers
Yeah,
of the year. I was like, okay,
amazing. Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
that's so cool. I'm so stoked. I love
And
it.
because I work so hard on this stuff, and sometimes it feels weird because you have to have faith in the process because you don't just take a picture. You have to like plan out a photo. You have to plan out a video. You have to plan out a
Yeah,
topic. You know, a whole sort of strategy of like how to sort of create a portfolio for your Facebook,
yeah.
Instagram, YouTube, stuff like that. Your
A
whole
lot of work.
account. You have to have like a whole strategy. You know, and so I was like, man, you know. I hope my message are getting across, because the topics I talk about, they're not like they're relevant, but it's not like surface. It's not like,
Right.
oh, here's a cool jacket and that's it. It's like,
Right.
no, here's the topic, and I'm gonna make the topic presentable. I'm gonna wear fashion that's catchy, so you
Hmm.
see me and then you see the topic.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I'll look more into this, especially if I have dialogue written in the caption that's relevant to and that's interesting. So I've been really it's been hard, because I've had some brands come up to me that wanted me to promote stuff, and I'm like, no. Sometimes I had to turn them down if it was something really just messed up, like just But luckily, most brands that come up to me already understand what I'm about, because I'm really adamant about I'm interested.
Yeah.
And so the COVID one, we just talked about COVID. There was a post I did.
Yeah. I just
Uh,
saw them.
I just did like 2 or 3 days ago about like people that are in the highest susceptible range of catching it, or in the situation of being so, like highly dense population in the middle of town, like certain ways you can prevent it,
Yeah.
like. And I think I even mentioned putting lemon in tea, or things like that, because you'd be surprised, like you can say someone, unfortunately I see someone does get COVID, you can drink hot tea and lemon on a consistent basis, because basically your breathing pathway, COVID, the reason people die the most is because it blocks their breathing pathways. So when people start adding in these preventive medicines before they even get sick, so if someone does get sick, they recover faster.
Yeah. That's
But
true.
yeah, so these are the kind of stuff I talk about, that and like equal rights, things like that. So yeah, whenever they wrote that article about me, about top influencers, I was like, man, to be included in that category and still
Yeah.
be myself, and
Mhm.
not compromise myself this entire time, I'm so thankful.
Yeah. I mean, it just shows like how what you're doing is helping so many people. You're on this app to help people with different. Um, you phrased it better than I did actually last time. How you explained the Social Blue app, what it does. It's like the only way I could explain it to people really is like it's like a Facebook, but not really a Facebook. I don't know. How would you explain it? Like you would
Well, like I know
explain it
that
better.
that is such like a scary reaction. Like, oh my god, Facebook, but
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I
because
realized I
cause
was
like
like, well, whoops.
no, but that's what I say too. I say Facebook with better intentions,
Out the door. Yeah.
because the people that run it, like the CEO, uh, and Angie, the CEO, she got with me a long time ago about this app, and I was like, tell me more about it. And she told me
Right.
about it, and then I started realizing that it's perfect for me, and she did too. So I became like the spokesperson for the app, and everyone on the sort of board of directors of the app are integrated into its development. So when new people come in, if someone is shady, like they don't post pictures and talking, being negative to someone else, we don't allow that person to
That's
stay
good.
in there. So
That's
Facebook,
awesome.
it is freedom of speech, which I do respect. But Facebook has a bad way of just letting people run wild whenever they're
It
negative, and
does.
then good
Yeah.
people don't feel protected and they don't want to come back.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we
Exactly.
protect those that the one to feel safe, because everyone should be able to come to something as open as that, um, and feel safe,
Yeah.
and
Like, exactly.
yeah. And the
Sorry.
commercial, if we should go to uh, the
Yeah, I want
commercial
to share the
shows.
commercial. I'll share it in the edit. I want to put it in if they allow me to do it. I want to put it like in to show like a cut to it. But go ahead. Sorry, I just want to let people know if they watch later.
Oh no, the commercial shows more about the world of diversity, and what it means to be human, what it means to want love, what it means to be friends, and like in a way that's like internal but expressed. So one part on there in particular, there's a man that he's missing his entire leg, like he has like a prosthetic leg, so to speak,
Oh,
and he's still climbing,
that's
you
awesome.
know he's still scaling a wall, he's still like swimming, he's working out and stuff like that, he's still powerful.
Yeah.
And it's like that, when people hear like, hey, you're missing a leg, that they imagine some guy hobbling, like hunched over, and like, oh, like
Right.
weather beaten and stuff, like this, like scourge kind of like mentality. It's like, no, like he's a human being, and he's a good looking guy, he's healthy, he's productive,
Yeah.
so like what is considered, um for a man in particular, uh
Yeah. I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
to be powerful is just what's normally considered attractive. You can still have aesthetic look, good bone structure, but if a guy doesn't feel physically
Like
have
strong.
prowess,
Yeah.
it can definitely hurt their own ego, hurt their own pride, so to speak. And so for see someone that has missed an entire huge section of his body and still be himself, it's got to be uplifting for guys like him, you know. So we want to show people in the commercial themselves, you know. So it's like a huge range of that. And so when they go into the app, they know that they're being represented. You know, there's a place for them. Unlike a good majority of social media.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It goes back to what we're talking about too, like the power of perception and stuff. Like you, like people think of disability and stuff and incapable, you know, like that they can't do something. And I think
Exactly.
yeah, and I think that like that commercial and stuff and all that you do too, it changes people when they think of somebody that has to use a wheelchair or has, you know, to use a prosthetic and stuff like that. Like it shows that, hey, like, you know, I can do things. I'm not sitting home, like doing nothing, like hunched over and like miserable. I think that's so important because people just, you know, a lot of people that don't have anybody with disabilities in their lives or aren't personally, you know, involved with it on even from a day to day, like they can start to really understand what people go through and that they are capable. And it's called, I think they call it, instead of handicap, it's handy capable or something. People say.
There's different
Yeah.
ways you can say handy capable or differently abled.
Mm.
I prefer definitely abled, you know, like this for me personally. But yeah, I think those two ways are much more positive. And I'm having to condition myself too, because like I'm 42, so uh, so over 40 years of healing disabled, you know.
Yeah.
And then when I try to describe myself to someone, if they don't know me, haven't seen me, and I say differently abled or handicapable, they're like, "What?" And I'm like,
Right.
"It's disabled, but I say this." And I'm like, I was like, "Oh, I don't want to
Yeah.
say disabled," you know.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna ask you too, like it just made me think of like you, I always forget you're like 42, but like for you, even the last 20 years, like how has it changed? Like from everything from before with, you know, people thinking about disabilities and stuff and the mindset to now, you going through a change and then now Black Lives Matter and stuff, like how, you know, you've seen a lot of change and, you know, even just the last 20 years. Like how does
Yeah,
that feel
I've
like
seen a
on
lot
the,
of change.
yeah,
You know, it's like uh,
veganism and stuff too, like everything, you know, it's a
well,
lot.
it's strange, you know, because like when I think about it, so much of me is still me, but my perception in the world is completely different than when I was growing up. Like, I mean, except for when I was real little. Like, I
Right.
think when you're real little, I think you're probably the purest you're probably
Yeah.
going to be, you know, because it's like you're born to this world fresh. And
Mhm.
so when I saw an animal, uh, I didn't understand why I was eating the animal.
Yeah,
I just knew
same.
that I was like, here's chicken. My
Mhm.
dad, my mom brought me chicken, or here's beef or fish, something like that. And it's like, oh, okay, you know. And a part of me was kind of like, something about this was weird. But then you start going along with it, and you forget to check it. Then once you get
Yeah.
older, you start realizing. I mean, me personally, so I became vegan for health and for because of what it means for animals. Because I'm
Yeah.
a animal rights activist.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to be vegan.
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
know.
true. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so that changed, and then like the perspective of what it means to be discriminated for race, that changed, and then what sexuality, because identity has shifted so
Yeah.
much for people because started inventing better ways to be more precise. And I think that's always existed. Is there was never a word for it or a better understanding what that is. It was either gay or straight or both. And I was like, that's rule limited. Because some
Yeah.
people or don't have a sexuality; they just have themselves, and then they just
Right.
like whoever they like. And I
Yeah.
think that's actually beautiful, uh, because now people, even though it's not perfect, people have a way of finding something that closer fits how they feel.
Yeah.
And so as the world progresses, instead of having this general homogenized viewpoint, there are these sort of micro universes that are opening up, and it's like the seeds have been sown to the ground, and over time they'll grow. It's just a matter of being patient and
Yeah.
it's working on it.
Yeah, that's true. I think the more people communicate and share and talk about stuff too, it'll become more and more, you know, positive and changing stuff. Like,
What what do you think the world's going to be like in 10 years?
Oh gosh. In terms of technology, just knowing because from my dad, like we were talking about this the other day. Technology wise, I think it's going to be a lot more advanced. I think AI is going to come into play. I almost question if AI is going to become something as well in terms of what people prefer. And
Do you think Elon Musk going to be successful? You heard about that?
which thing? I mean, there's so much with in particular.
Elon Musk, how he wants to create a merge between man and machine to where humans are physically themselves. They want to put like microchips in heads of people that are willing to do it, so they can have processors and permanent long-term memory and be able to show data with others, like a computer.
Oh yeah, I think it's. I mean, it's possible. And I was just saying the other day. Well, this kind of jumps into another thing with technology, with the facial identification stuff going on. Did you hear about that? Like with these companies that are using our faces and stuff, like on Facebook and whatever, like now, and then they can scan it. So one example is like, imagine you're home, and this face identification stuff scans you, and there's a robbery somewhere else, right, in another state or country or whatever, and all of a sudden the police come to your door and they're like, hey, you robbed the bank yesterday according to our data services, and the face scan, it's you. And you're like, I was at like a Starbucks. Like, what are you talking about at that time? It's like, well, until we figure that out, you have to come with us. Like, that's the glitches and stuff that can happen with technology. And even the stuff you're just saying with Elon Musk, like putting something into somebody, like there's a lot that can go wrong. And I think that they need to go really slow with it, because if not, then things can happen like that show Black Mirror. Like that
I think that show is based mostly on what he's working on.
Oh yeah, like that stuff like that. I was telling people yesterday, like, about like the dog. You ever see like the robotic dog they have?
Yeah, they have those dogs.
Yeah, like that episode. Did you see that episode? I think it's called Black Metal. Yeah. So
I've seen all the episodes.
Yeah, same. Like they're selling those dogs now for people, and it can.
The only difference between that dog on the show and a dog in real life is that the dog on the show is programmed for that task, but a dog in real life can still be programmed for that task. So I love technology. There's nothing wrong with the technology. It's still a tool,
right?
Until it becomes sentient. But because it's not sentient yet, humans, a little puppy's trying to get in here.
Oh, cute. Bring him
in. Because they're not sentient yet, it's like humans aren't perfect, and someone has an agenda that can use that robot, or whether it's a humanoid or dog shape, to do whatever.
I think that also. Sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. I just thought of something that makes me think of like, what beauty is and perfection. I think that eventually AI people and stuff like that will make people feel stupid. Maybe it'll make them feel like that they're not good enough, strong enough. I think it might eventually bring an entire new issue with what is beauty, what is strength, what is being good enough, this perfectionism stuff. I think it's going to shift an entire other direction or entire other level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I worry about eventually.
I think in terms of beauty, and my interpretation of beauty has changed dramatically too over the years, because whenever you're a teenager and younger, beauty is sort of like one or two ways, very limited based upon what you see through TV, media, things like that. And then as I got older and just interacting with people, to me, beauty became more about confidence.
Right.
If that sounds, if it's not an oversimplification, I mean, to me, it's confidence. Like, if someone doesn't have to be the most attractive person, but if they, if they're comfortable with who you are and they express themselves, that becomes who they are, becomes more beautiful. Because you can take someone that's stereotypically a beautiful person,
right,
and then make them like a total like douchebag, like total horrible,
Exactly.
So I don't know, but
that's true. Yeah, it's a good point.
And then our beauty just goes down the drain,
Yeah, I think. Well, for me and stuff, I think that like what's attractive is how, like, who you are entirely, like your personality, like what you do for others. Are you a caring person? Like what do you contribute to others and not just yourself? Like people can be super selfish and look amazing, and it's like, well, great, but you're still a scumbag. Like it completely makes them a lot lower, on what's pretty. So there's that too. But I know, just to sidetrack for a second, like I was thinking about, for me with my struggles and stuff, when I got sick with porphyria and stuff, like I felt like I wasn't good enough for a while. And I thought of you with dancing when you told me what happened to you, because I don't think a lot of people know, if they haven't seen other episodes or aren't familiar with you, that you were a dancer, right? And you did a lot, performances and stuff like that. And it kind of made me at least have to see myself on a different perspective of myself and like who I am. And
How do you
realize,
mean?
like for me, like with writing music and stuff, like before I went through a lot, my lyrics I felt were very superficial, not anything really deep. It kind of forced me to have to sit down and really understand the technology and stuff to really understand how to produce music and stuff, because there are going to be times I realized that I can't get to a studio, or I can't tour, I can't do the things I thought I was going to be able to do.
Let's
And
hear
it
it,
kind of,
say.
yeah, and it shifted me to have to look at things in another angle and how to use my strengths in a different way. And I also realized, like with you and stuff and what you do, like from what you've been through, you have done so. I think it kind of shifted everything of what you're capable of even further, that you maybe weren't aware of. Like at least for me, like I didn't realize what I was capable of. Like even with this, like I never would have come up with this entire Illest Entertainers thing if I hadn't gone through what I've gone through. And I think that's kind of cool with art. It kind of makes us have to see the power we have in
That's
ourselves.
true.
Yeah. So in that way, I mean, like it made me have to realize in myself, like what I had and what I was capable of, that I probably never would have realized. But with you also, like all of the stuff you've done that you were just saying before, like not realizing that you were, listed as a top fashion influencer and stuff. And you've done, I mean, you should just be number one everywhere, quite honestly. I mean, how many
Oh,
people
thank
do what
you.
you do? It's incredible. Like just designing, these different fashionable, how do you call it? I always mess up when I describe it. It's fashion, like supportive wear for people
W-
that they can't usually.
well, it depends on what stage it is, because because it's a assisting. It's like assisting technology, like exoskeleton assisting
Yeah,
technology. So
yeah.
it's not it's not installed into anyone. It's all external,
Mm-hmm.
primarily.
Yeah.
And basically it's like a support system for the body to take pressure off the weight of the body, but more than just a brace, like because like if it was just like a structure, it'd be one thing, but within the technology there's like resistance and counterbalances, ways to help like replace the use of attendant, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like it has to actually add strength to it, and then the newer generations coming up, the technology will have more electronical elements that assist even further. So at this stage, it's I guess it's this exoskeleton assisting technology, and then the second phase of it is closer to cybernetics, but externally,
Yeah.
because I'm not comfortable doing surgery and so
Well, yeah.
you know. If
Dog
someone
in
ever
there.
takes it further, and does that, that's one thing, they can totally do that. But I mean, plus you can still like have um, these pads that you put on the body that
Mm-hmm.
they're basically electrodes that sense the electrical impulses already in your system,
Oh,
and then
cool.
like it goes through a circuit, and then it says, okay, you have a slight jump and a spike in electricity there. Then that means move arm up or close finger right or something like that. So you can
Oh,
still do a
awesome.
lot of things externally and
Right.
still be integrated. So I think that the technology for that part is actually not that expensive. It's just the processing power
Mm-hmm.
and the power supply. That's what hopefully funding will come up more in the future, because that's the part that's slowing me down. Is that power supply? I don't want like a huge refrigerator-sized battery in my back. Because you see Iron Man in the movies,
Yeah,
which is
exactly. Yeah.
cool. But Iron Man is able to do that in the movies because he
Mm-hmm.
has some type of like new element, power
Yeah.
supply. It's like size of a
Super
quarter, but
tiny.
it can run a city.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and that's why he's
exactly.
able to do all that stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
so
That's
now there is technology that does exist. That's really expensive, and the power supplies aren't that bad, but the power supplies as we know would cost. So hopefully in time, I'll figure some ways around that.
yeah.
Um, or just get funding to just do it, you know, more so. Because right now it's already doing good because I have things like this. Like this is articulated, so I can still kind of move my neck, but it has counterbalances inside. I guess it can hard to tell, but it has like a fiberglass reinforcement wire inside. It also has like these little like sort of silicone stretchy bands back there and stuff like that. So everything's like sort of a calculated, you know. So it's not just like a stiff board and like I'm like, you know.
Yeah, you're not just like, sitting like this all the time. Like, hey, how are you? Yeah, like that's. But how did you come up? I don't think people really know either. Like, I mean, I know some people do.
Necessity, man.
Yeah, because remember we were talking about just compression wear and stuff last time. Well, the first episode, and how frustrating that was just for me having to wear those with lymphedema. Yeah, there you go.
I made my own compression sleeves because the compression sleeves weren't that good. You know, like they were just too tight. And I actually have some new fabric that came in. That, let me show you fabric. Where'd it go?
Because I don't think people realize like all the stuff and how did you decide to start doing this? Like what, you know, inspired you to start getting into this? Because I wouldn't know how to do that. I would just be like, shit, that'd be nice to do that, but I don't know what to do. Sorry, I said shit.
Well,
I wouldn't know.
I think as an inventor, as a small kid, because I used to take things. Well, I didn't take things. Well, I did take some things apart. Well, I shouldn't have as a little kid. And remake it something different. But I also find parts that are just laying around, like what someone consider trash or garbage, or big car parts laying on the ground.
That's cool.
Cleaner parts, and I'll just take it, you know, and then I'll start creating things. Like I used to make tiny robots as a little boy.
Yeah.
With umbrella parts and motors, and it'd be like arms moving around and stuff like that, you know. And I would start figuring out how to reverse the electrical charge of the battery, and so it was like on and off and like left and right, and I started to figure things out slowly as a little kid. Nowadays you can just buy a kit and do all that stuff, you know.
Yeah, they do that. Yeah, like in STEM classes and stuff I would teach, they have those. Yeah, like you could even use these little like magnetic little I can't remember what they're called, but like they like go together and then one lights up and one has a wheel and they like move and stuff, but you have to have a battery box little thing connected to it. The kids have like a lot of stuff now, which we didn't have back then. But that's cool.
Well, I mean, you had it, but it was like not in one spot. You had to like find little pieces from different places, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That's cool. Like so when you're little, you're you know, interested in making these little gadgets and stuff. Well, and now like look how
I wanted to be a robotics engineer when I was a little kid, and that changed when I became like more into art, you know. But back in my mind, I still was into technology, but not to the point to where that it can like just consume art, you know. But now like I realized that you can do it the same, you know.
Right.
Like and that you can weave art together like this choker neck piece thing, you know. It's like very futuristic.
Yeah,
but
I like it.
But it's actually like 3 times lighter than my other neck brace.
Yeah,
like way lighter, man. Huh?
Yeah, I remember you telling me that too. That like the ones that are like out there and stuff for people are not comfortable. They're heavy, burdensome, and stuff. And you're designing ones that are, you know, people can actually wear and want to wear. Because I think that's another thing too. A lot of people, at least I know with me, with having to wear compressions, which is not even close to having to wear a neck brace and stuff. But for me, it was like, oh, these look like old lady ones. I don't want to wear these, and then I wouldn't wear them.
Oh yeah, I have one here somewhere. Like, and it was given to me. Oh god, I have to get this. Hold on a second. I'm trying not to hurt myself getting this thing. Hold on. I have to get this because I want to show the difference.
Yeah, I want to show the difference.
Wait, hold on a second. Wait, hold on a second. I just can't get it. I want to get this. Okay. I want to get this choker, this neck brace, because it's a big foam one. So it's like bigger than my head, you know. Like, but you have to put it on your neck. You know, you've seen those, but it's like this huge thing, and like if someone just had a car accident, I can see someone wearing that like one time or something. But for every day, like you just have a weak neck, like mine, or a neck that eventually gets weaker over time. You can't wear this huge thing. If one, you get self-conscious too. Like, you know, I'm a guy. I have an Adam's apple that's going to push into my throat, and I have problems breathing. I have problems breathing in general. You know, like I have all these fans everywhere.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, same. Like I have to have the AC on everything all the time, and if it's not super hot out, the humidity. Yeah, it's a lot. But so, I'll put it in the edit. That's why
this part's open, huh?
I'll put in the edit the images you send me them. Like I'll put it in while you're talking about it, like the old ones and like yours, so people can see it.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll do that because I like having that in the edit so people can see it.
But yeah, you can see like this. It's open for the throat, which goes against most neck braces. Most neck braces, this part is completely covered and it's pushing against you. So it's open and it's
That's
built
nice.
solid. So like everywhere you move, you have an open area to swallow food, drink water. I don't recommend falling asleep because when it looks weird, you'd be like, you just be sitting right up, straight up like this. But probably not good because your body needs to relax at some point, and like even though it's somewhat relaxed, you need to complete relax when you sleep. So I don't recommend wearing it when you're sleeping. But other than that, you can wear it anytime.
That's awesome. It's funny. I don't think people know if I mentioned the first episode, but like that's kind of how I met you. Was I was on Instagram, I was talking to my friend. I'm like, gee, I don't know if I should do this podcast or this idea, and I was just like browsing, and you just came up as like a recommended, and I'm like, and I clicked it, and I saw you in that neck brace thing, and I was like, that's awesome. I didn't even realize that's what it was. I just was like, and I clicked it, and then I saw like all your stuff, and then I like typed in your name, and I read your article. And I was like, oh my gosh, like you literally encompass what I want to do. Like, this is amazing. And I'm like, he's not going to respond to me. Like, message you. And then you responded, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then we just became.
Oh yeah, it's like that's one thing.
Amazing.
It's like that's one thing that really I guess irks me about a lot of I mean not every influencer does that, but there's a lot of influencers that just don't talk to
Yeah.
anyone. And it's like they just like post something and then I don't know how it gets out there and then that's it. It's like no, it's like
Right.
no, it's like you have to engage people, especially if they're like minded.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of like interest that I think that if people knew that you could communicate and stuff, get things done that way. And so when you're like, hey, I'm working on music, and I think your style flows good with my work, and maybe you can collaborate on something. I was like, hey, man, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yeah. It's like, I think so many people too, like, I mean, I'm sure you get like a ton of messages from people as well. And I mean, people that have like a bajillion, like, I know some YouTubers and stuff have like 10 million followers and stuff. I mean, yeah, I get it. Like, it's a lot. Like, Shane Dawson gets like a bajillion messages on each video he posts. And that can be, overwhelming to read all of them. But, your point is too, like, you need to like connect as an influencer with others. And,
Yes.
that also grows awareness and stuff for what you're doing.
And I think more than an influencer, I think I'm more of an activist. So maybe that's a different way of looking at it. Because like I don't look at. I mean, I am an influencer, but I don't look at it like that. I think I'm more. I don't know where I'm going here. Honestly.
Like, bye.
I moved somehow. No, I moved and the camera shifted. I'm like, as an influencer, I think that what the hell happened?
You're fine. I see you.
As an influencer, I think I have a responsibility to whatever is most natural to me to focus on that. And like, I mean, first and foremost, I'm an activist, artist, inventor. And so I think most influencers, not every influencer is an activist, and some just have like they're into fitness, or they're into art, or they have like sort of niche areas.
Yeah.
And I think all those things are great. I think I can pull every interest I have into that, so long as it's filtered through something that ties it together. And so to me, fashion and art can reinterpret like a focus. So if it's if it's poverty, or things of that nature, or that topic, like I have a picture, of something related to that. The one with the COVID one, it was like not as deliberate. It was more subtle, but it had like these medical bracelets. Like, you get like blood work done.
Yeah.
In the lab, you go to a doctor, they get those little medical bracelets. And so in that photo, I was wearing that,
Yeah.
So they become like statements, through fashion, and your message has more impact.
Yeah. Well, you combine everything, which is awesome too. It's like, the fashion, and then you make, like the neck brace and the arm stuff. Like for that girl, you did the one that you're making for her, so she can I don't remember, but it was a video you had posted a while ago of the girl that can now use her hand and stuff and her arm. But it's
she had like I don't know if you heard in that video, but like, you can hear when she did it, the squeeze. You can hear the knuckles of the hand like locked into place. Like if you watch the the handshake is like it's like locking into place. So that's the thing. That's one reason why it's so strong, because when your fingers are moving, you have all these different muscles just to close one finger, but the exoskeleton parts are holding that spot in place for you. And so all you need to do is move a little bit further, and it starts closing with you. So it's like, you know what I mean?
That's awesome. So you have to learn all that too. Like you don't just design it. You have to know like how like, you know, the anatomy and everything works. This, you know, the exoskeleton, the skeletal system and everything. It's like, it's a lot of work just for somebody that didn't even have anything else going on. Just to do that is a lot. You know, just to understand that could take like a lifetime to understand it. And you do that, you design it, and you also do modeling and stuff as an actress. Like it's just, you know, that's what I think is so cool, is that you do a lot. And then like I think you asked me before, like where do you think, you know, like this will go and what your career go, like where do you think your career is going to go and stuff and what you do?
I'm starting to rethink that, because I mean, I always thought about possibilities, and I always thought, you know, well, I want to happen, but you know, in the back of my mind I wasn't sure. But like this past year, and what happened, like I think I just said, screw it, I'm just gonna do whatever feels right, you know,
That's
because
good.
you know, because like I said, I do strategies. I do strategy about stuff, you know, like as I do marketing, and I was like, I used to work at a call center, and I sort of a marketing director,
Yeah.
manager type situation, you know, but marketing to me is more organic than anticipated nowadays. And when I start understanding coding, because I started understanding Python code,
Oh,
Python
cool.
coding, and Instagram uses Python, and different like apps are using Python. Like they're sort of deviating from JavaScript to some degree, you know. And Python is much more organic, and coding in general is shifting to much more organic. You know, like you mentioned the technology and AI. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of simulated AI or intuitive machine learning software out there now. This is my wheelhouse, where I feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
So I'm a total about to nerd out here. You know, for the nerd,
No,
I'm a
it's
total
fine.
nerd. You know, so I started realizing that it's all about gravity, and these particular programs, the code starts shifting priority to things that stand out. And so a lot of people, they're influencers, they generalize themselves too much. Like they have a good content, but in their hashtags and where they're sharing it are like general groups. So I go to groups that are more into the topic I'm working on. I started focusing and talking to people that are already in alignment with I'm with, and it started like sort of unifying collective resources on a topic, you know.
Yeah.
So I started working with people here in City Hall, here in Houston, helping in terms of relief programs,
Right.
preventative programs for COVID, things like that, you know. So when you start working with people who are like-minded already, so it's like two sides of the coin. So you have actual human beings that are like-minded on board with you already. You start collaborating with them, whether an influencer or someone in position of influence that can help your message get across, and then or vice versa. And then with the programs, start realizing that, you know, they're just trying their best, because you know, their attention basically for software nowadays primarily is to find something that stands out, and it's going to say it's good or bad, and it doesn't look for in between.
Right.
So if you're like kind of like vanilla, like everybody else,
Yeah, I guess stand
and
out.
don't do anything differently, you're just going to be like everybody else. And
Get lost in
as
the
an
crowd.
influencer, you get lost in the crowd. So if you do something that stands out, and then you really focus on that, and you start really like organically, basically Instagram, Facebook, all these places, they reward you for being engaged. They reward for you for participating. So I talk to people,
Nice.
and I even in like I thought it used to be only the hashtags, but literally it looks for every single word you type.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that.
You like in
Okay.
your captions. It said like that COVID post. I posted on that COVID post, and it says, "Thank you for posting about COVID-19. We put a link to the official site for something." So the official site realized about that post, and so they can like work with me if they wanted to, for example. So it was trying to like help me network. I was like,
Oh,
really?
cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm putting it in right now so people, if they want to see it, I'll put it also in, like I said before, on the edits, like I'll put the image and stuff like I did in the other one, so people can see it. And I'll do that also. But yeah, so you feel like where is it
It's just all
going?
about this. I mean, I appreciate you doing that, because like Like you
Yeah.
put things out there, like you have like, what did you feel when you before you said those words? I'll put that in that link. Like, did you feel an emotional context to that? It's like it
Yeah,
made you, huh?
yeah. Yeah, no, I
See,
didn't even think of that, like, when you just said that. Sorry, go
and
ahead.
that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I guess it's a long way of saying it. What I'm trying to say is that it's, your emotions come up before logic. Your logic is just a tool to make your emotions have a space in this world. So it's a lot of times your first instinct is normally the right one.
Yeah.
You know, so you know some teams. You know, some teams. What's wrong with me, man? Uh, uh, People can basically cancel themselves out. Like they have one pure thought, and then they cancel that thought out with self doubt or a
Right.
doubt from someone else that's projected onto themselves. But if you basically have your first instinct, like, okay, I want to do this project, you know, and I don't know how to go about it, but I have a feeling, like, you know what you don't want to do, and it
Right.
actually helps you. So, like, for example, I was doing a search online for photos for backgrounds, right? Because you have to put backgrounds and photos sometimes,
Right.
and I was like, I don't know what I want, so let me go first to what I don't want, and I'll find a
Oh, that's
pattern
really
in that. So I looked at, like, I typed
that's
in
smart.
cafes. And
That's
I
really
didn't want
good.
a cafe. And I was like, what is about cafes for this photo that doesn't work? It's like it's too crowded. There's too many hallways, are too far down. The lighting is everywhere. There's too much texture. It's too
Mhm.
busy. So that told me I want something that's more simplified, that just has less physical depth, that has less colors, less distraction, that has more focus just on foreground.
Right.
So the easy way first was just to go what I don't want, and then that
Right.
lets me know what I do want. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I never that's a really good I'm gonna start doing that. Like just get you can kind of hone in on like what you really want to do or what you really want to find. And like as opposed to just getting lost in like all of the other distractions, you just kind of okay, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this. And then
That's
you kind
the
of
trick.
get into it. That's really cool. I like
That's the
that.
trick with everything. Like in social
Yeah.
media, when people says like, how could you not get bogged down by this depressing stuff you see online every day? You know, like we're all getting these negative stuff thrown at us every day, and sometimes it's good. Some of it's good to see because
Right.
it's informative, and some of it it's like misleading or just like hatred. You know, there's a lot of hatred out there. You know, that's just like being amped up, and
Yeah.
some good things too, but a lot of hatred. And so I was like, well, I can't allow myself. So I know what the truth is. I know it's just like that cafe photo. I don't want that. So why should I focus on it? It's just a good reminder when I see that. I'm thankful when I see it because it reminds me what I want to see, what I wish to happen, and what I want to see is what I should focus on. You know, so if you have like a regiment,
Hmm.
you know, like you have like a systematic way of a belief system, that's like, you know, okay, of how to get things accomplished, right? So for me, for example, here's a good example. Okay, I'm cracking my knuckles here, getting to work, right? So this is what I do, right? uh, I want to wake up in the morning, um, or sometimes I'll have naps. You know, like people like ourselves, like have autoimmunes. We have to have naps sometimes.
Yeah, you gotta rest.
Um,
Yeah.
so in between napping, like say I can't physically move, but I'm thinking what I want to do, right? So plan out my day for the next day, for example. It's like, well, the peak point, the peak part of the day when I'm most energetic,
Mhm.
I want to do a photo, right, or I want to write to people about something I want to get across, right.
Right.
So I'll say, okay, um, that emotion of like I just want to get out there, right? That emotion when to do things. So I start automatically going through social media and just looking through posts, not for anything in particular, but just like letting sensitivity guide me, right?
Right.
Uh, uh, to lower my tension in my body, to lower the tension in my mind, and to let things flow through. I start seeing a pattern. You know,
Right.
it's like your subconscious is smarter than your conscious mind. You know, but the thing is to be able to um, be in sync with your subconscious mind on a conscious level.
It's
You
almost
know,
like kind
and
of
so
meditating.
yeah, it's like a through martial arts taught me this. It's that you can have a moving meditation. Martial arts is a moving meditation. It's a conscious intent, but then you start reacting without thinking. Like my
Right.
instructor used to say, "Kung Fu teaches you how to fight like a mindless idiot." I was like, "What?" He goes, "Because you don't think. There's no thought." You know, and people think intelligence is supreme, but intelligence has its purpose when it's supposed to have a purpose. But
Yeah.
sometimes its purpose can take away from something that's supposed to be beautiful and flow, you know?
Yeah.
And so initially, when I'm going through all these posts, I'm seeing the flow of people, what people are feeling, right? Because what people are feeling is my objective. I need to listen to my audience that I'm trying to work with. And
Right.
so I start seeing, looking at all these posts. I see, okay, everyone today is being super negative, right? Because they're just being saturated by all the stuff coming at them, and they want a pick me up of positivity. You know,
Right.
at least I believe they do so, because as contrast from what I do see, if I see positivity there already, I'll probably just post something that just flows with already they're thinking about a topic that they're thinking of. But
Mm.
if it's a topic that it is hurting them so bad, I'll find another topic that contrasts that to remind them of who they really are. You know,
Okay.
so instead of starting my day with like a hard tension,
Hmm.
I start my day with letting go and allowing that day to show me what to do. It makes any
Yeah.
sense.
No, it does. It's good. It ties back to what we were talking at the beginning, which is good because, like, when we close this in a few minutes at work, that's really good. I was just thinking, like, it ties into what you said in the beginning about how people with the news and stuff and everything going on, like, they're like, oh, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see that. But it's all about, like, the emotional, like, connection of, like, why don't you want to see this? Like, what on that other level, as opposed to just, like, seeing something and being, like, negative, I don't want to see it. It's kind of like connecting to, like, okay, why is this upsetting me? And
Yeah,
that's another way for people to look at it, that maybe people watching or when they watch later in an edit, like, why are you shutting off this stuff that's important? What about it's upsetting you? And then that's another way that people can make a difference. That makes
exactly.
sense. Yeah, like, that's a really good way to tie everything in.
I
um
was actually
yeah,
thankful. I'm actually, when I am upset, I mean, not all the time, but I'm actually,
right.
if something makes me upset, I'm actually thankful, because that means it's something that I need to face. You
Yeah, I
know,
like that.
like like whenever uh, I heard about George Floyd and what happened to
Yeah,
him, and so many other things that happened to people that are beautiful souls that are taken away from us too early in this world. And I
yeah,
was like, I want to know something. So I made my video, my experiences about that. And that was like really painful, but it was very therapeutic, you know? So that's
yeah.
another reason I stay beauty. Not beauty. That's another
I get
reason
what
I stay
you're
focused on beauty and fashion,
saying.
beauty with the soul, and beauty in the spirit. I focus when I say that word, it's
Right.
like it defines everything that's important to me. You know, because it's
Mm.
like uh, true beauty. And what someone earlier is not just the physical; it's like the spirit. You know, and so I
Yeah.
had to stay busy to nurture my spirit. If I just do nothing, even meditation, you're doing something.
Right.
You know, so resting, you're doing something. You know, but in terms of what I focus on, I try to make sure my focus stays busy. I should. That's a better way of saying it. Because if you focus stands still, and you're not meditating, you're not being positive. You're staying still. A lot of times you're taking in negativity. You got to be able to flow, and flow is moving.
That's
Meditation is moving. There's if you stay stagnant and idle, that's not cool, because you become prey for the predator of negativity in this world. You know, so that's why I stay positive. You know.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's even like with me with editing and doing all this stuff for the podcast and the live streams, it's like not doing that and stuff, like I would get really like down and be like, oh, what am I doing in my life and stuff. But when I'm in the zone working, I think anybody working on a passion project or working on what they love to do, it keeps
Yeah.
you going and makes you want to be a better person, as opposed to just when you're not doing anything, you just feel like you can't function in the world and why bother. And also with protests and stuff too, I think people doing something, they want to keep doing something, which is why I want people to keep talking about these issues and stuff. And even with, COVID and stuff, like keep talking about that this is an issue and that we need things to change. The more that people come together and realize that and start making a difference, it's when people get stagnant, like you said, that things don't change. So that's a really good way to tie everything in that we've been discussing today, that whole
I think it,
concept.
and I think you said it last time too, and that is a fear. That's a healthy fear. When people say, I'm afraid people become stagnant, and to let it slide again, and people start sliding into old habits or all these
Yeah.
important issues, and to not focus on these important issues like people have been doing, like I've been doing. It's like I think all of us. It was once you take responsibility, you start blaming other people. Like I take responsibility for myself and say, as an activist, I do pretty well overall, but there's
Mm.
certain topics I haven't focused enough on. And
Right.
racism is one of those things that it's probably the most painful one for me. And so I was like, so whenever stuff like that start happening, I was like, okay, this is what I need to be more motivated, because this is no way I can take on that weight and just hold it. I have to let that weight go to sort of purge myself of that and focus on this topic. That's the only way to do it, is focus on it. So I'm thankful. Like I mentioned earlier, like whenever I felt like the pain of seeing these videos and newscasters talk about these subjects of racism and inequality, for racism, that's one that's like the closest to me, the most painful for me, because that's the one I identify with the most. Although these other ones I still understand to some degree, because the transgender community, I'm not transgender, but I have a very androgynous look, extremely balance between masculine and feminine look. To me, I'm comfortable with both sides of that equation, and how I look, and it's very gender fluid, in presentation. But I'm mistaken for a transgender life, so I understand some level of being discriminated. That even though it's like I'm not completely, like that, I still just the aesthetic part of it.
Right.
I understand,
You understand
to some
that
degree.
level. Yeah, exactly.
And that's what people see first. That they see someone they could say looks transgender, or they assume is, and then it's like, oh, they automatically try to own that person. Those that are discriminating, they try to own that person, and then they try to say, well, you're this and this that, But in actuality, the person is just trying to be themselves, and they're trying a physical way of showing that. And I do understand that part. It's like, I to me, it's like when I start losing weight because of my illness, I couldn't work out like I used to.
Right.
And I used to be like, muscle bound or something like that, like not all my life, but certain parts of my life had a lot of muscle,
Yeah.
And then, but it's like at the same time, it would have been more painful if I didn't have the feminine, more androgynous look potential in me as well. So when I started, because I'm now like 118 pounds or something.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like a little tiny little thing, And I'm like, well, that works too, I'll just go with that, So
just like embrace it, basically. Yeah.
Basically, just flow with it, So it's basically being like water. If you flow with something and you don't resist it, you make the best of it, then you can just become like a master in your domain for whatever that is, whatever you're doing,
Yeah. And that also ties back to kind of like with when I mentioned in the beginning, Kimberly Jones and her book and stuff, when she mentioned, it just made me think of that, how her and her friend felt like that they weren't doing enough for the community and how to help others and future generations, and they took what they could do and just went with it. Like, like, okay, we're just gonna write this fictional story about this and see what happens. And then, like, it just like water just kind of went, and people started to hear about it, and now this came up, and they just kind of rode with it, like you're saying, with anything in life. It's like,
exactly.
Yeah, like, that's a really good point. I don't want to keep you too long because I realize we've been going. I love these conversations, by the way. I've gotten so many comments and feedback from friends and people. People don't even know writing me that they love it. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Like, I'm glad we're doing this, and I'm so glad everything fell into place. Not that everything that's going on, but the positive aspects of it, like we're just saying. But if anybody wants to write us any comments, and then we'll figure out when the next one that we'll do it. I'm going to cut you off, but I know you've been doing a lot this week. So
yeah, it's like I feel it. I know the second I turned the lights off and I stopped talking, and I'm probably gonna feel everything because it's been nonstop.
Yeah,
it's been nonstop, man. Like it's good. I'm appreciative.
Yeah, no, I'm like so grateful you do this and take the time to do this with me. Like, I could never do this series without you. Like, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, especially for the week you had. I was like, "Are you sure you want to do it?" You're like, no, I'll do it. I'm like,
yeah, because like it's because I knew like once I don't know. I know I won't know. Like whenever I stop and I start really going to sleep and start resting and started like decompressing, I don't know how long it's going to be for me to come back from that.
Right. Yeah. Same.
So
Exactly,
it's like before like take a break this weekend. It's like let's knock this out Saturday, and then even though Sunday is Father's Day, and that's another reason why we're not having this Sunday. Even if it wasn't, probably wouldn't have it Sunday, because Sunday I probably couldn't last long enough.
Yeah,
With energy, and I would be like, I'll be knocked out on Sunday. So Sunday, I'm just gonna be like,
like, hey, how you doing? Nothing. Hey, how you doing? Nothing. I won't bother you. I'm kidding. But like, yeah, I got like that. You got to just like zone out and like have your time. Totally.
So tomorrow, everybody, if you don't hear from me, it's because I'm knocked out, man. I mean, the commercial we had to do this for commercial because Social Blue, Angie, CEO, thank you this opportunity, and this commercial is going to really launch the app. That's going really well. And then after that, it was like right before that, then like the thing happened with the top influencer thing, and then other opportunities start coming away. Like right the same, as soon as that's posted, like everyone started contacting me.
Oh,
You
damn.
know,
That's
which is good.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good, but like different opportunities start contacting me at the same time. And I was like, well, let me just get back to that.
Yeah.
After this weekend, because I was like, man, I could barely even think.
I know. Yeah, I feel bad. I was like, shoot, do you want to still do it? Like, and me, I get it. Like, even last minute. Like, sometimes just FYI for everybody. Like, there might be some times where I can't do it, and I'm like, hey, we gotta do it another day, even last minute. But that's the whole point of those entertainers. Is people understand what other people go through, and how to overcome the obstacles, regardless. So, but I mean, I'll let you get going. But I want to thank everybody for supporting us and continuing to watch our episodes. And again, the website is down on the little scrolly thing, and you can check that out. And then the edits are going to go up. I'm going to probably post the full one from last week.
Okay.
I'm probably going to post it. I'll have you look at it, if anything you want me to change on it, but I'll get it up probably tomorrow. I'm going to continue the edits of the shortened ones for people to see. And then I'll also have this one up probably by next weekend. I'll have this one up, and then we'll go from there. But thank you so much for doing this, and get some rest. And I will make sure all this cool stuff. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
And so looking forward to the next one. And so, yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep.
I'll talk to you later.
Talk
Bye,
to you
everybody.
soon. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.